team investigate a tragic death on trial and retribution.
This week, fires, floods and climate change.
Climate change costs, climate change kills.
Will being in the tent change Prison Minister John Robertson's view of privatisation?
There's been a privately operated jail since 1993 in New South Wales, that's Junee. It performs very well.
And under the belly, Clive Small on drugs, crime and corruption in New South Wales. Welcome to Stateline New South Wales, I'm Quentin Dempster. The split within the governing Labor Party in New South Wales from last year's electricity privatisation row is continuing into 2009. With exquisite irony, John Robertson, the man credited with bringing to an end the premiership of Morris Yema in that privatisation split, now finds himself the Minister for Corrective Services. His first job? Privatising two of the state's prisons. Nick Grimm reports.
I've always been an advocate. It's no good standing on the outside complaining and so on. Someone presents you with an opportunity to go inside the tent and actually make a contribution. You should take that opportunity.
That was the state's new Corrective Services Minister, John Robertson, telling Stateline last year about why he was opting for life inside the Reece Labor government. When the former Union's New South Wales boss entered Parliament back in October, the man widely credited with doing more than anyone else to scuttle the Yema government's power privatisation plans, vowed he would remain true to his roots.
You can rest assured I won't be becoming an advocate for privatisation. I'm not going to change who I am. I am not going to change my belief systems or my values, and I will continue to advocate for those.
John Cameron Robertson.
What a difference a few short months in politics can make. Fast-tracked into Cabinet, John Robertson has also been given the opportunity to demonstrate exactly where his loyalties lie after being handed the Corrective Services portfolio. Awkwardly for John Robertson, he's been handed a job that puts him in charge of the privatisation of two of the state's biggest jails, at Parklea in Sydney's west and at Cessnock on the Central Coast.
We feel very disappointed. I mean, here's a man who, as the head of the union movement, fought very strongly against the privatisation of electricity. And here he is on something as basic as looking after one's fellow citizens. A breach of the social compact between the government and its citizenry. And on that issue, to actually be prepared to drive it forward, to privatise the prisons, beggars belief on issues of political principle that worries us.
It also puts him at loggerheads with many of the unionists he once represented.
Running jails at profit and profiting off the misery of others surely can't be the kind of humane society that we want to live in New South Wales.
Earlier this month, 100 prison guards at Sydney's Long Bay Jail walked off the job in protest at the plans.
We're not going to go away until we win the battle. To privatise these jails just isn't the answer.
Matt Binley is a Parklea prison officer and union organiser. He says prison privatisation is a recipe for trouble.
To make profit, they have to take shortcuts somewhere. Now, the first place that they'll take shortcuts is the numbers of staff on the ground, which will make the jail environment an increasingly more dangerous situation.
We would expect there would be an unpreparedness to accept the authority of these overseas jailers, these major corporations.
New South Wales already has one privately run prison at Junee in the state's Riverina district. Established by the Fay Liberal government 16 years ago, the Junee Correctional Facility was Australia's first prison to be designed, constructed, owned and managed by private operators. In contrast, Parklea and Cessnock are existing state-owned facilities, and the government is now seeking tenders from a number of companies ready to take them over. But to privatise the jails, the Reece government will have to ride roughshod over Labor Party policy. As this internal policy document shows, the party's official position is emphatic.
Labor opposes the private contract management of prisons.
And that's a position still held by the left wing of the party. Earlier this week, a meeting of the Labor left resolved to oppose the privatisation of Parklea and Cessnock, with the socialist left faction arguing it will worsen the overcrowding and under-resourcing of the state's jails.
We call on the New South Wales Government to adhere to ALP policy, which prohibits the privatisation of prisons.
Also opposing the plans are the two government MPs whose electorates take in Parklea and Cessnock prisons. John Aquilina and Kerry Hickey are reported to have stated that privatisation doesn't stand up to public scrutiny. The issue also crosses the political divide, with opposition MP Prue Goward, whose electorate takes in Goulburn Prison, another to condemn the government's privatisation plans. While it leaves John Robertson in a difficult spot, Stateline understands the real driving force behind prison privatisation has been the former Corrective Services Minister and current Attorney-General John Hatzistergos. Senior party sources have told Stateline that he regards privatisation as the only way to force through workplace reform in the state's prisons. Back in 2005, Parliament's Public Accounts Committee identified that
the overtime, sick leave and other employee-related expenses in some publicly managed correctional centres are excessive.
Then last year, reports emerged of a culture of overtime rorts inside the prison system,